Are you missing the signs? Infidelity is a complex fracture of trust, yet few things reveal our inner strength more than how we respond to betrayal. In the silence following those life-altering words, a test unfolds, a test of self-control, resilience, and self-worth. A true Stoic understands that such a moment, while painful, is not defined by the actions of others but by how we choose to respond. In these situations, we find ourselves at the edge of reason and emotion. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." It's time to dig deep, to observe the patterns, and to understand the signs without becoming enslaved by them. The psychological truth behind infidelity. Infidelity is not simply a matter of betrayal, it often stems from deeper psychological currents. Many philosophers, particularly Stoics, believe that actions are seldom isolated events, but are fueled by inner conflicts, unmet desires, or misguided attempts to find fulfillment. A key Stoic concept here is passion's strong emotional responses that control us when we lack the wisdom to see through them. Seneca wrote that we suffer more often in imagination than in reality, suggesting that those who are unfaithful may be acting out of imagined needs or distortions in their own minds rather than actual shortcomings in their relationships. When people stray, they may be unconsciously seeking validation, novelty, or escape, driven by an inability to confront their inner dissatisfaction. Stoicism teaches us to look beyond outward actions to uncover root causes, which are often hidden even from the person committing the act. If we approach infidelity through this lens, we see it as a symptom of an unsettled inner state rather than a clear condemnation of our worth. As Epictetus reminds us, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. We can therefore view infidelity not as an attack, but as a signal, an indicator of unresolved struggles or fears that another person has yet to face. This perspective allows us to engage with betrayal from a place of calm understanding rather than anger or self-doubt. So-and-so understands me so well. When someone says they understand me so well, they're often expressing an unmet emotional need, a need to feel seen, appreciated, or understood. But the Stoics warn against allowing ourselves to be defined by others' validation. True inner peace is found through understanding ourselves, not seeking external confirmation. This external reliance is akin to what Stoics call externals, factors outside our control that have no bearing on our internal worth. The phrase "they understand me so well" might reveal a tendency to look outward for fulfillment rather than within. This outward dependency can become a form of distraction from one's inner voids or fears. When someone feels deeply understood by someone else, it may highlight a deficiency in their existing relationship or, more accurately, within their own self-knowledge. Marcus Aurelius advised that we should look within, as every answer we seek about our value is already in us, not in another person's words or affirmations. By recognizing this as a projection of their own unmet needs, rather than an indication of our lack, we prevent ourselves from internalizing the hurtful words. We choose instead to reaffirm our worth independently, knowing that validation, true and lasting, must come from self-reflection and resilience. This practice in turn strengthens our own self-respect and guides us to remain grounded, regardless of the turmoil that others may bring into our lives. It's just friends. When someone says, "it's just friends," there's often an underlying tension between assurance and reality. Stoicism teaches us to see beyond the words spoken to us, focusing instead on actions and intentions. Epictetus reminds us we have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we can listen twice as much as we speak. This phrase, "it's just friends," is often used to pacify concern, but our Stoic understanding calls us to discern its meaning calmly and without judgment, recognizing patterns rather than reacting emotionally. Stoics believed in the power of observation without attachment. By observing behavior rather than clinging to words, we maintain a grounded perspective. True friendship, whether ours or another's, doesn't rely on secrecy or defensiveness. If a friendship requires such measures, it may be masking deeper issues. Stoic wisdom encourages us to ask ourselves if we are seeing integrity, loyalty, and transparency, or something clouded by excuses. We focus on our own virtue, valuing honesty and fortitude, which are ultimately unaffected by the actions of others. By remaining objective, we stay clear-headed, observing without letting ourselves be swayed by uncertainty. Marcus Aurelius advises, waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one. We use this philosophy to guide our response, embodying the qualities we value. We choose honesty over jealousy and self-respect over suspicion. In the end, we rely on the clarity of our own minds rather than the unclear assurances of others. I need more space for myself. The request for space can be a genuine need for personal growth or an attempt to distance oneself emotionally. For the Stoic, this moment tests our ability to respect others' autonomy without feeling diminished by it. Our role, as Seneca puts it, is to let go of things that don't belong to us, and this includes the idea that we can control someone else's proximity or feelings. True Stoic self-control means learning to be whole within ourselves, regardless of whether others pull closer or move away. When someone says they need more space, a Stoic will seek to understand this with compassion yet without attachment. The phrase may reflect an internal struggle, one that belongs to them alone. While relationships thrive on unity, no one owes their constant presence to another, and Stoic principles emphasize self-sufficiency. We might remind ourselves of Epictetus' words, "People are not disturbed by things, but by the view they take of them." Instead of interpreting this phrase as rejection, we choose to see it as a test of our independence and self-worth. Moreover, space is not a reflection of our inadequacy, but perhaps a necessary pause for growth, whether theirs or our own. Marcus Aurelius would have us accept what happens to us as a part of the warp and woof of our destiny, meaning that our strength lies in our ability to accept changes with grace, seeing them as part of the natural rhythm of life. By maintaining emotional equilibrium, we respect both ourselves and others, showing that our sense of peace is not tied to anyone's physical presence but anchored deeply within. I'm working late. The phrase "when I'm working late" may seem simple, but it can sometimes signify more than a commitment to work. Stoicism invites us to approach such statements without immediate suspicion, but with mindful observation. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus taught that appearances are deceptive, and we must avoid jumping to conclusions or letting our emotions dictate our understanding. The Stoic approach here is to detach from the urge to overanalyze and instead to focus on our own virtues: patience, trust, and self-composure. Work is a common refuge for those seeking to avoid personal issues, a means of escape cloaked in responsibility. If this phrase becomes routine, it may be a subtle expression of emotional distance, a way of avoiding difficult conversations or connection. But rather than questioning someone else's motives, Stoicism encourages us to turn inward and ask, what can I control here? As Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." In situations like this, our strength comes from maintaining our sense of calm and integrity, keeping our own lives and values in balance. In practice, this means focusing on our own growth and fulfillment, rather than relying on the presence of others for security. If our partner is truly absorbed in work, we respect their dedication. If working late is an excuse, we remind ourselves that we are capable of facing any truth without losing our stability. This mindset prevents us from spiraling into anxiety or distrust. Instead, we stay anchored, knowing that our worth is not tied to someone else's actions but to our own choices. Maybe time apart will help. When someone suggests time apart, it can be unsettling. Yet Stoicism provides a framework to view this as an opportunity for growth rather than as rejection. Seneca emphasized that adversity reveals our true character, saying, "No man is more unhappy than he who never faces adversity." A request for distance is not inherently a sign of failure. Rather, it can be a chance to strengthen our independence, reflect, and reconnect with our own values. The notion of time apart may arise from a need for self-discovery or an escape from emotional pressure. This separation, however difficult, offers us a chance to nurture our resilience. By not reacting with fear or resentment, we demonstrate the Stoic principle of apatheia, freedom from destructive emotions. Instead of resisting the space, we lean into it, understanding that true strength lies in our capacity to be at peace, whether alone or with others. For the Stoic, love is not about ownership or constant attachment. It is about mutual respect and harmony. As Epictetus taught, if you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid with regard to external things. This suggests that when others question our need for time apart, or if we fear how it might appear, we should remain steady, prioritizing our inner growth over appearances or societal expectations. Ultimately, if time apart is truly necessary, we can trust that it will either strengthen the relationship by allowing both individuals to grow or gently reveal that each person's path must continue separately. Either outcome aligns with Stoic wisdom. We become fortified against the tides of uncertainty, and we remain whole, relying not on another's presence for fulfillment but on our own unwavering character. You deserve better than me. The phrase "you deserve better than me" often suggests internal conflicts within the person saying it. Stoicism encourages us to look beyond the words at the underlying emotions, knowing that people sometimes use self-deprecating language to protect themselves from confronting uncomfortable truths. This phrase can be an expression of guilt, insecurity, or an attempt to deflect responsibility. Marcus Aurelius taught that it is not the things themselves that disturb men, but their judgments about these things. A Stoic will see these words for what they are, an indicator of the other person's internal turmoil rather than a statement about our own worth. When someone says "you deserve better," they might be struggling with feelings of inadequacy or unresolved guilt. Stoicism reminds us to recognize these struggles without taking on their burden as our own. Epictetus urged us to make the best use of what is in our power and take the rest as it happens in this situation. What is in our power is our response, not their self-judgment. We can empathize with their inner conflict but remain steadfast in our sense of self-worth, understanding that our value is not contingent on another person's insecurities. Stoic philosophy teaches us to focus on our own virtues: self-respect, strength, and resilience. By doing so, we avoid falling into self-doubt. Even if someone suggests we deserve better, whether or not the other person feels worthy, we remind ourselves that we are whole as we are. As Seneca advised, "You act like mortals in all that you fear, and like immortals in all that you desire." We should not fear rejection, but desire clarity and self-empowerment. Thus, we honor ourselves by not letting someone else's internal conflicts shake our sense of dignity. Nonverbal signs of emotional detachment. Sometimes the strongest indicators of emotional distance are not found in words but in actions and demeanor. Nonverbal signs such as avoiding eye contact, diminished physical affection, or a noticeable lack of enthusiasm can reveal more than spoken reassurances. Stoicism teaches us to observe these cues with a clear mind and without jumping to conclusions, recognizing that actions often speak louder than words. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." Emotional detachment, as painful as it may feel, can serve as a catalyst for self-awareness and growth. When we detect signs of emotional withdrawal, Stoicism guides us to remain calm and assess the situation without falling into despair or resentment. Instead of becoming consumed by insecurity, we can see these signs as opportunities to deepen our own resilience and self-reliance. This approach aligns with Epictetus' teaching: it is not events that disturb us, but our interpretation of them. If a partner is withdrawing, we focus on what we can control: our own thoughts, actions, and self-care. Moreover, emotional detachment in another does not have to mean a loss of self-worth in ourselves. It is natural to feel a sense of sadness or concern, but Stoicism encourages us to transform this energy into constructive action. We focus on cultivating our own virtues, such as patience, empathy, and fortitude. Whether the relationship continues or not, we grow stronger by learning to find peace in ourselves rather than seeking validation from someone else's affection or attention. Ultimately, nonverbal detachment, while difficult to face, can be a powerful teacher. By observing without clinging and maintaining our self-worth without resentment, we embody the Stoic ideal of apatheia, freedom from destructive emotions. We remain grounded, knowing that our inner stability does not waver with another's distance, but is rooted in the unwavering strength of our character. Managing emotions without losing control. Infidelity can ignite some of the most intense and overwhelming emotions, but Stoicism reminds us that strength lies not in repression, but in managing our emotions wisely. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Here he speaks to a core Stoic principle: although we cannot control the actions of others, we can control our response to them. In moments of betrayal or hurt, this approach can help us transform raw emotions into insight and growth, rather than letting them control us. When confronted by betrayal, it's natural to feel anger, sadness, or disappointment. But Stoicism doesn't ask us to deny these feelings, it urges us to observe them without being dominated by them. Epictetus taught that we are disturbed not by things, but by the view we take of them. This wisdom encourages us to pause, examine our emotional response, and ask ourselves, what am I truly feeling? Why am I feeling this way? What value can I derive from this experience? By framing our feelings as opportunities for self-inquiry, we create the space to respond from a place of clarity rather than reaction. Stoicism empowers us to let emotions serve us rather than enslave us. Anger can become a reminder of our strength, sadness can deepen our self-compassion, and disappointment can fuel a renewed commitment to our own values. When we manage emotions with awareness, we maintain our dignity and self-respect, choosing to rise above chaos rather than be swept up in it. Seneca said, "A gem cannot be polished without friction, nor a man perfected without trials." Through the trial of infidelity, we can polish ourselves, using the friction to build resilience and fortitude, ultimately remaining grounded in the strength of our own self-control. Building resilient self-empowerment beyond infidelity. Infidelity can feel like a direct assault on self-worth, but Stoicism teaches us that true strength lies within and cannot be shaken by external events. The Stoic path in times of betrayal is to rebuild not by external means, but by reaffirming the inner virtues that define you as courage, resilience, self-respect, and independence. Difficulty strengthens the mind, said Seneca, as labor does the body. We recognize that though the experience is painful, it is also an invitation to fortify our character. Resilience begins by redefining where our self-worth comes from. Stoics teach that our worth does not come from the validation or loyalty of others, but from our own adherence to virtue and self-respect. Betrayal is a painful reminder that we can only find lasting peace by nurturing our inner strength rather than relying on external assurances. In the words of Epictetus, no man is free who is not master of himself. By focusing on mastering our own mind and actions, we cultivate a strength that no external betrayal can weaken. Self-empowerment in this context means setting boundaries that reflect our value and protecting our peace. We may decide to forgive, let go, or even distance ourselves, but whatever we choose, we do so from a place of strength, not resentment. Marcus Aurelius reminds us to let each thing you would do, say, or intend be like that of a dying person. In other words, live each moment fully present, without bitterness, and committed to a path of dignity and self-empowerment. Through Stoic resilience, we transform hardship into an opportunity for personal growth. We emerge from betrayal not diminished, but empowered, stronger, more self-reliant, and more aligned with our own values. We remind ourselves that our true essence is unbreakable and that, as Marcus Aurelius wrote, the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. In this way, even betrayal can become a path towards self-discovery and inner empowerment, building a strength that no external hurt can diminish. Conclusion: protecting your self-worth. In the end, infidelity is a momentary wound, but its lessons can last a lifetime. This wound does not dictate who we are, we dictate that. By adhering to Stoic principles, we emerge not only resilient but stronger, wiser, and more grounded than before. In betrayal, there is a call to remember who we are. Marcus Aurelius instructs us, the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts, thus let our thoughts be steady, empowered, and free from bitterness. We take the lesson, we grow, and we transcend. Together we stand firm, choosing not to be shaped by the actions of others but by the strength of our own will.